It reminds me of this anecdote I heard when I was studying design, which was someone who worked at a creative shop talking about someone sitting in the office saying, I need a photo of a bus. Where do I get a photo of a bus? And they're searching for photos of buses, and meanwhile outside the window, buses going past. They've got a camera right on the desk. That's a huge thing. Like it's very easy to have a strong bias towards data that you have that's available or things that are more measurable. And in marketing, you see that a lot where people will pump more money into digital marketing because you can measure exposure and link it to a sale. You can't necessarily understand the causal relationship very easily, but you're seeing some sales here, you're not seeing some sales in TV, and so you put money into where you're seeing the sales, and you actually have no idea of whether one is more successful than the other. And so I think there are a few things there. There's one thing which ties to what we were talking about before, which is however you want to talk about it, whether it's the kind of psychological safety or the willingness to embrace failure, that a lot of more modern companies that have grown very quickly have done a good job of embedding in their culture. That's pretty important for people to actually be able to come up there and be able to do data analysis properly, to establish knowledge properly, to say, I'm doing this thing because I think it's true and it might not be true, and this is how we're going to find out. The other dimension of it is, it's really tied to what we were talking about earlier on about, understanding the hierarchies of knowledge and understanding the biases of the knowledge that you have available to you, and going, look, I've got this really rich set of data over here in the web analytics program. All this stuff's going on over here which I can't measure, or all this stuff's going on over here in the contact center where you've got a whole lot of phone calls coming in, and I'd have to spend 4 hours listening to phone calls to get a sense of what's going on over there, and I'm just too lazy, or I don't have time, or whatever it is. So I think it's a lot like doing science well. It's understanding what are all the things that can help you to answer your problem, and when you've got a data set, if you've got that web analytics data set, to really actively, every time you're looking at it, going, what is it not telling me? And try to seek some kind of answer to that question of what is it not telling me? It's easy to make bad decisions with data. But if you're deliberate about producing data, if you run a randomized controlled experiment, which doesn't work for everything, it works for a small subset of problems, then you can produce data which tells you exactly what you do, because you design the experiment to produce data to tell you exactly what to do. That only works for a subset of problems though. So I would say there's that dimension which sits outside that kind of DKIW. That's where you've got this hierarchy in science, where they talk about having an opinion, through to running a randomized controlled trial, through to assessing the results of hundreds of randomized controlled trials. And that's another sort of hierarchy of knowledge and the value of different types of knowledge that's also useful. But it's interesting, that DKIW hierarchy, in that there are so many problems that you can't apply science to, where having a broad understanding and being able to connect lots of different sources of data and knowledge in your head, and to be able to come up with something that makes sense, and to be able to link it to the experiences of other companies and so on, where that's incredibly valuable. And that's also valuable in terms of where you actually can run experiments, because you're only going to be able to experiment with a small number of things, and it's going to be much more valuable if you come up with the right things to test.